I just wanted to die. I really wanted to die. I prayed for death. I did, because I couldn't cope with what was going on in my body and everything else.
I couldn't imagine something similar happening to myself. Just, no, fuck that. Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty awful. Yeah.
Really, it shouldn't be done.
I'm shocked. I didn't know that was still happening in my life. There's no words for that. It's mad.
Yeah, it's really shocking, but I mean, I really can't believe it.
That's it's disgusting. It's weird. And there's no point to it. If there was a point to it, I'll say that is fine.
It's really nasty. And it's pain. There's no need for it.
It makes me feel really upset and disgusted that something like that is still going on, especially somewhere like London.
Almost 1 in 20 women living in the Southwark Council of London are estimated to have experienced an extremely painful procedure called female genital mutilation. This violence, also known as FGM, is mainly practiced in African countries, certain parts of Asia, and in the Middle East.
FGM essentially is the removal of certain parts of the female genitalia. Those parts don't grow back, and you can't undo the trauma.
Girls from newborn to adolescents suffer this life-changing practice, considered as a rite of passage into womanhood and a condition of marriage.
So, Hiba, when you were 6 years old, you were still in Somalia, so you suffered FGM. Could you tell me about this experience?
The community I come from, FGM is something to be very, very proud of. Almost the whole country goes through. 98% of my generation were cut, and it's a way of preserving virginity as well. But what happens is, you don't know, as a young girl, you don't know what it is. You don't know what is that, but you're made to feel it's something to be very, very proud of. So every girl wants to actually be cut. And I was only 6 years old because I was bullied quite a lot at school because I wasn't cut. So every break time, I was ridiculed, sing at, told that you can't touch Quran, you're this and that, you're dirty. So I cried to my mom and I said, you really need to cut me, because she didn't want to cut me because I was too thin, too small. And she thought I might get hurt, but I didn't understand what that meant. But seeing her, me being so upset, she agreed with me, and things start to get into shape, preparing me for that. And the way they prepare you for that is a huge party. I went in with my mum. I was holding my mum's hand, and the cutter's helper was sitting on the floor, her legs really wide open. And my mum was telling me, you have to sit between her legs, Hibo. So I went and I sat between her legs. The pain began then, real pain began then. What she did with her nails was just, clipping on the clitoris and pulling it hard. And I just thought she actually ripped it with her nails. That's what I felt. I felt like she ripped it because that was how painful it was. But she didn't. While she was pulling that, she opened the brown bag. She was hanging off her neck, and millions of razors came out. Horrible, dirty razors. I had all kind of brown colors on them, and she just took one of them and just did the first cut. And when she did the first cut, it was, I don't know where I went. I wasn't there. I don't know where I went because the pain was so great. I just felt I was burning. Every single part of my body was absolutely lit on fire, and I didn't know which part was more painful, the part she cut or any other part, because I was completely on fire. And I was screaming this time. And before I could feel that pain, there was another one, because she kept on cutting and cutting and cutting. And the worst part of that part is, you're only 6 years old, you're screaming, and the people that are supposed to be helping you are looking away. So it's affecting every aspect of your life. Nothing about you is not touched by it.
In terms of emotional and psychological, they are the most difficult ones because women are left traumatized. They often report a number of symptoms that are in line with the diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Women tend to relive that experience throughout their life, either through nightmares or through flashbacks. So it's something that cannot be erased. Women who have undergone FGM no longer desire any sexual activities. So when the husband demands sex, the woman feels incapable or a failure as a woman for not being able to sexually satisfy the husband. And often these women, they report having sex without their consent or without wanting it. They'll be say that I was lying down and it was like watching it happening to somebody else, which ultimately what they're describing is rape.
The people that do the cutting aren't always trained to do that. So back in their country of origin or where it's being done, it might be a health professional, but it might be a health professional who's a midwife or a health attendant or something like that, but they're not really trained in surgery. So they don't know that, you know, that they've been told what to do and they're cutting bits of the female anatomy, but they don't really know what they're cutting. So that can cause consequences as far as bleeding and shock is concerned. There's always the risk of infection with healing, but then there's a long-term consequences for the child as well around when she urinates or passes urine, that it takes a long time because there's no space for it to come out. When she menstruates, so when she has her period, again, that takes a long time. It's very painful. They can get lots of blood build up. Having a child, so later on in life, when a woman is pregnant and she's having her child, there's lots and lots that the medical professionals have to do to enable her to have a normal delivery, and lots of these women end up having a cesarean at that time.
European, what's the best way to tackle FGM?
Best way to tackle FGM is through education. Knowledge is very freedom, knowledge is power, and I do believe that older generation need to be educated. But the people, the generation I feel are the key to eradicating FGM is the youth today, because they are the ones that need protection, and protection comes in form of education. Giving him information about FGM to the youth today is so important, because their parents will never tell of them what this is, how much their life is going to be altered, because FGM is a life sentence.